nation. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise together.
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shout it loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, Diane, can you see me? I'm Rona ready.
Good morning. No, I'm not looking right now.
I gotta go to a wake today.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, yeah. My brother-in-law, who is, you know, there has to, I mean, just for clarity, I say brother-in-law, but he's, he's a brother, right? To me, and I love him dearly. His mother, with a, battled cancer and lost the battle, and yeah, you know, so so the wake is today, and I gotta tell you, I thought long and hard about whether to go, and I'm being very serious, right? So, like the thing that I have on now is part of what I'm going to be wearing today. I'm gonna have gloves on. I'm gonna have some other stuff on, and I'm not going to the funeral. I will be doing the funeral tomorrow virtually, right? They're going to be in a church that holds 500 people, and only 75 people are going to be there. So there's going to be social distancing. But even with that said, I don't want to sit in a in a place like that. And I thought about that too. I don't want to talk about it, but anyway, with the wake, people will be in and out, right? So you
Right.
walk in and you walk out. So for me, that seemed to be the safest thing. And when you look at the numbers that are, that they're reporting now of folks that,
That- yeah.
yeah, the
You know,
infection rate exactly, and we'll talk about what North Mayor Ras Baraka, talked about in terms of Newark now having a higher rate than all of the cities in Essex County. 20, what is it? 23 cities in Essex or towns in Essex County combined. It's a serious issue, right? So,
what is typical? What's your typical protocol for wakes and funerals? Because I know everybody has.
well, I'm going to take this off now, but I wanted to show this, and I posted this. Now it looks because Farrakhan Sawab, who listens to the show occasionally, he asked whether or not this fogs up, and mine hasn't, right? But it's cloudy right now because there's a protective film on the front and back that I haven't taken off yet. Like I just got this. So when I take the protective film that keeps it from being scratched in transit, it'll be clearer. Um, but what were you asking me? What is my particular protocol?
Yeah. What is your etiquette protocol for wakes and funerals? Do you go to everybody's? Do you
You
just
mean just in
down to
general
them?
or COVID-19 protocol?
Period.
Oh no, I don't go. You know what? I don't go to funerals. I am very specific about the funerals I go to because I think that funerals really should be for close friends and family, right? And I think that the people, it's my opinion, and I may get yelled at from folks, right? But my opinion is people who are not close to the friends, close to the departed or the family of the departed, are voyeurs, right? And they just kind of like to be around, and then they sit and they talk about the funeral, how many people were there, and all that kind of stuff, right? But in terms of being there for the support of the family and friends of the departed. I mean, I think that that's what the funeral is for. The wake is to show general support. Again, my belief, right? You asked me mine is to show general support. So if you knew them, right? If you were an acquaintance of theirs, then you show up and you just kind of you have an opportunity to greet the family, you have an opportunity to say your last goodbyes and all that kind of stuff. But the actual funeral, I think, should be reserved for a closer group of people. That's my opinion, and that's how I operate.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I like my funeral, like, and I've instructed people, and put and I
Okay, you one of those people too? Oh God, do you have a do not show list? Too. My girlfriend had that when she passed
yeah, I
away.
do, I
Don't
do.
let this person in. Don't let that person in, and that leaves the pressure on the people that are
Well,
living
it
today
does,
outside
and so
because if you show up,
my dad had one too, right? Because there were a lot of people who meant ill for
Right.
toward him,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
But publicly, because of politics, they would show a different side, and
Right.
so he knew, uh, being in that political space, what happens at funerals, right? That
Right.
politicians and other notables show up and they pretend like they gave a damn and so forth. So my father had a do not show list, and in fact, he told us, he said, if people show up that are on the do not, you have my permission to remove them or have them removed. And so my dad had a janaza.
Words. So in your head, did it say, "Please show up. Please
No,
show
no,
up."
no. So
I just want to kick you smooth out.
no. So my dad had his janaza, and
Explains it. Explain a janaza.
well, it's a Muslim burial, right, or ceremony, and typically, just like Jews, they when you die, the idea is to bury you before the next sunset, right? So, um,
Why?
his went a little that's it's in the scripture, but I would imagine, right, if for those people who are not religious people, it just made sense hygienically, right? You don't want to leave dead bodies laying around, right? You want to get them in the ground
So
quickly.
does that in the Muslim religion, he's not embalmed? Is that what it is?
No, he's not.
No.
And I mean, I can't talk too much about it, but I will tell you, there's an entire ritual which I got an opportunity to be a part of, which so it's interesting, right? And look, guys, we never script this stuff, so we hadn't planned to talk about this. But when my dad passed, and then we got the imam at the funeral home that he was at, and who was holding and preparing him. There's a washing that is done, and a shrouding that is done, and
And the
I
shrouding is the wrapping of the body.
is the wrapping of the body, right?
Okay.
And I got an opportunity to be a part of that, and my brothers, my three brothers, and my dad's closest friend got to participate in it. And I'll tell you, Diane, it was cathartic. Because usually when somebody dies, when they take the body away, the next time you see the body, typically, right,
Right.
is at a wake or at the
Right.
funeral, right? Or you see it already prepared in a casket, right? Um,
Right.
but there's an in between space. In that in between space, I didn't realize that I needed it. But as it was happening, I realized the level of importance to me, right? And then not just to me in terms of my relationship with my father, but to me in terms of my family. So my brothers, watching them care for my father's body, to watch my dad's best friend Shep Binyard caring for, and then appreciating, and then just show, like it was. You talk about closure. It brought a level of closure that a just a funeral would not have brought for me. So and I thought that it was, it was just a beautiful experience. And but anyway, back to the janaza. So he had told us, that if certain folks showed up, we had the authority to have them removed. But like you said, that kind of puts pressure on the people who are left behind, right? So as we watched the facility where his janaza was being conducted fill up, and it was at capacity. And then some of the dignitaries were showing up, and many of them were ones that my dad didn't want to be there. I won't mention names, but we looked at each other as a family, and we said, okay, so we're not going to ask them to leave, but we're not going to let them speak, right?
Right.
So
Exactly.
we instructed the imam that no one was to speak, right? And then there were people who were pissed, right? And then some of these people are people who have had very, very bad things to say, not just about my dad, but about my family,
Right.
right? And so I'm looking at them and I'm saying, like,
Have to go.
what is the level of disconnect that you have here?
Because for some people that in politics, I've noticed, that comes to funerals, it's about them. My girlfriend passed away. She was the director of the water department in Newark, and she passed away maybe 3-4 years, maybe a little longer. I can't really remember. You kind of lose track when a good friend passes away. And Raz Baraka spoke at her funeral, and we've had conversations, she and I personally, behind the scenes about the BS that's going on. And she saw it up here, she knew exactly who was who, all of that. And to hear him speak, and he never said anything bad about her, even before. She's always had a good relationship with whoever was in control. Was very, I don't know, very fake.
Mm-hmm.
It's very fake. And
Yeah,
I think they use those platforms to exalt themselves.
I agree. I agree. So yeah, so I mean,
or to give a false sense of importance in a deceased person's life.
well, sometimes they do that, but it really isn't about. They don't care about the. I agree with Diane. They don't care about the person. It's all about
No.
them. It's all about getting some shine for themselves, right? And then because,
That's what I just said. That's what I just said.
no, you said importance for the deceased, and I'm saying
No,
no.
they're important, so they're getting the shine off of portraying that they had such an importance in this person's life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, Jody Coleman. so, but yeah, wow.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, so anyway, so I got my Corona gear, and look, I'm telling you, folks ought to take this thing very seriously. I was listening to a report on the news this morning as I made my coffee, and they were talking about how China and why China's economy is roaring back. And it said because they decided to deal not focused on the economy, but focus on the virus, right? And squash the virus, understanding that if the sooner they did that and got that done, then they could turn their attention to rebuilding the economy, right? We were trying to do both because we politicized it. And let's just be honest, right? I'm not looking at one party over the other. I'm looking at the parties and I'm looking at the people who have taken to tribalism to one side or the other. You are all responsible. All of you are responsible because you wanted to bury the other candidate, right? And so instead of focusing on the virus, just the virus, and not looking at an upcoming election and who could get the upper hand, right? Everybody participated to some extent and degree in politics. And so we were never able to come together and say, you know what, this is about all of us now, and we have the ability, the maturity to move politics and tribalism to the back burner for the sake of everybody. We have not been able to do that, and as a result, we have made a bed that we all have to live in, and so shame on all of us for that.
There were gamesmanships on both ends of the party.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, and the technique was that Donald Trump didn't wanted the economy to open up because he wanted to run on the strength of the economy. Part of his talking.
But wait a minute. But let's but see. I wanna have this even. And as much as he wanted to run on a strong economy, the Democrats wanted the economy to be weakened.
No, well, no.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
Well, no. I'm not going to debate that, nor do I disagree with that. But one of the things that I saw was that the Democrats basically said that, okay, let's look at what's going on. And when Donald Trump started going against science, they sat up there and let him do it.
Right, but even if he went against the science, but let's have see. This is what I'm saying. Even though he went against the science, Governor Murphy had responsibilities. Governor Cuomo had responsibilities. All these other governors had responsibilities that fall outside the purview of the president.
And the Governor Wolf in Pennsylvania, because they are all the states are connected. Once you look at New York, you look at New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, et cetera, et cetera.
All the governors from all 50 states.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you look at what happened with the technique and the gamesmanship and the governors who were playing the games and the governors who were playing safe. The governors who were playing the games left their, told the party lie. Some of them told the party lie. Did not close, did not do any mandates, didn't do, weren't pushing for testing. And you had some governors who truly cared, and they said, look, we're just going to get this done, and whatever cost we're going to cure, we're going to backfill it somehow. But the main thing was for safety. And when you look at what we got from it, is everybody was playing the game, and we had 230 lives.
Right. Right, and then beyond that, right? We had the ball of confusion trickle down, right, from elected officials and those who are appointed to provide us with, information.
Well, let's look at the gamesmanship in the ball of confusion. And the one thing is that
I wanted to finish
Donald Trump's technique has always been double down on his dumb.
Well, I'm not talking. No, I'm not talking. See, no. See, you interrupted me. But you just interrupted me as I wasn't talking about. Yeah, I wasn't talking about Donald Trump. See, I'm really trying to, because you
want to keep it apolitical.
Well, no, I want to talk about everybody. I want to talk about how individuals, because they wanted to prove points, right? Because they have been stoked by these politicians on both sides, decided that they were going to have parties, right? That they were going to have. And the reason I want to stay on both sides, Vincent, is because you have people, like the argument will be, well, people were gassed up because Donald Trump said don't wear a mask and Republicans said don't wear a mask, and so they didn't. But I can talk to you about many people in urban communities who don't give a shit about Donald Trump or the Republican Party, right? Who didn't wear masks and who had big Corona parties and aided in the spread of COVID-19. So I'm saying that there is a culture, right, that is supported by both parties to keep things confused, because as long as they are, those folks stay in power.
Oh, okay, and this is what I think, and I'm going to keep this apolitical. You have one person that's spreading information. You have another group that's doing the fact-checking. Henceforth, the confusion. People didn't know who to believe. The person who said this or the person.
People have died. They've had trailers full of dead bodies. There is no confusion.
There was There's still confusion.
If people are confused, then they're just stupid.
Well, but wait a minute. So you have because understand this right now, you have John F. Kennedy Jr., right? You have Jamel Holly, Democrat. I keep going down the list that are lined up with these people going all over the country saying that we shouldn't be taking a vaccine, saying that we shouldn't be wearing a mask. See, so when you say one person is saying something and then everybody else is saying something else, and then you have fact checkers, see, you give a false impression of what's actually happening. You have Democrats out there.
No. Okay, Eric, that's not. I'm not giving a false impression. So, and I'm not misleading. What I see is one person saying this, and I'm not saying which side of the political spectrum they're on. I'm saying you've got one person saying one thing.
But you don't have one person, you have many
Let me
people.
finish. I said you've got another person saying another thing. You got fact checkers and you've got science, and everybody is saying something, contributing to the ball of
Okay.
confusion.
Right. Okay. And so we all, when we look at have blood on our hands, right? So all of you guys, point the finger inwardly, for not doing the part that you could do, right? Because again, you look at China, right? You look at Japan, right? You look at Taiwan, right? You can go down the list of some of them and look at how they handled it, right? They were responsible. They all believed the science, irrespective of what other noise and chatter was out there. And they handled their business to save themselves.
Okay, but most important with those countries that you mentioned, they had a leadership that set the direction and the tune.
Well, so again, let's understand this, right? So in those countries that I'm talking about, they didn't. Yes, they did, but they are totalitarian, right? And so there's one message coming out, and they drive everything, and then it's up to the people then to believe it. Where you have a democracy where you have 50 states with 50 governors, and each of those states have countless towns with countless mayors, and you have these different layers, right? Trying to get everybody on one page is challenging because at the end of the day, it is all about politics. And that's what they all saw first. How do I get the upper hand? See, in those other states in those other countries that I talked about, it wasn't about how do I get the upper hand. There was already an emperor. They're already in charge. So they said, well, how do I save the economy? How do I save our standing in the world? And they said the way I do this is by passing down an edict that says this is what you all do. And those people did it.
Correct.
Now, in America, there is no edict, right? You can have somebody say something, but as Cuomo said, I don't have to follow what you say. I'm the governor. You have Murphy say, I don't have to follow what you say. I'm the governor. You have the rest of them say, I don't have to follow what you say. I am the governor. And that is the way that we run. And because everybody beats their own chest and decides that they want to be on top of their own freaking mountain, right? And drive their own narratives, we could never come together. And so now we have over 200, we have over 250,000 people dead, more gonna die, 8 million infected globally.
Well, you look at the leadership in terms of the United States, and every state having its own constitution of sovereignty, or being an actual being governed by the leader of that state, quote unquote, governor. And you look at the results of what happened. Those that followed the national leader's plan got funding and some help from the national leader. Those who did not, follow it, they had And those states that closed, that he was against, he punished. And those states that did not, he supported. And that's the part that made everyone a little upset. The politicizing of people's health and safety. In the interim, while they're playing politics, we are dying.
Call it go.
Thank you. Good morning, guys. Yeah, I think I agree with the failure.
Hey, Mike, your phone's a little muffled.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Is that better?
That's a lot better. Thank you.
Okay, I think I was talking to Mike. But I think the total failure of government on this, the spread of this virus from the very beginning is what you're talking about. And now that it's out of control, everybody's pointing the finger at each other. And, it's like you said, it's we the people. We the people. It's supposed to be the government, but we're relying on somebody else to solve the problem for us. And, it's a shame where we are, but we here now, And I don't think this virus is going away for a while. So, until people realize that, as bad as it is, they can get 10 times worse. These hospitals get to a point where they can't treat people, or you can't get to a doctor, or people can't get to you, and the bodies will start piling up fast. And the virus is what they call it. When it changes, it morphs into something else, and people are gonna have a hell of a time. And so I think I understand without making it all the Democrats, just the Republicans. The overall corruption of the system,
Right.
and the people that have to have their way so that they can, like you were talking about, I got a grandstand at somebody's funeral, I'm the mayor, I'm this, and I'm that, I'm gonna speak. And damn well you didn't get along with that person. It's the same thing. I get you represent a community, you don't know what the hell, you don't even know what this whole virus thing is all about. You've been ignoring the environment all along.
Right.
You're the king of the environment. Yeah, we got to do X, Y, and Z. So, so I really think I understand what you're saying when you say, people were, grandstanding and, I'm gonna buck the system and I like partying, so I'm gonna continue to keep partying.
Yeah.
And this ain't the time for that.
It's not, man. And so when we don't look at the entire government as being culpable, right? What we then do, I believe, is we say, well, you know what? If we get rid of this one person, things are going to get better. And I'm saying, no. See, if you recognize that the government, that this entire body is culpable, then getting rid of this one person isn't going to solve it. Right? You have to look at this entire body and you have to act accordingly.
Getting rid of that one person or getting rid of that leader that's not effective does not solve the problem because you can't change the past. But it does get you an opportunity to get leadership in there that can make the changes on the future.
Well, at least admit we have a problem because this joke now. It's just around the corner. There ain't no big deal. It's, and it's just he's hurting people.
Turning the corner. The virus has turned the corner. It's going away.
But you got other people who, on the other side, I hate using that term, but they capitalize in order because, and he knows his supporters are going to go down with him, go down with the ship.
Right. They're like the tattletales who go, see, look, I told you, look, see, I told you. They still have a level of culpability. They're not speaking out against it until it becomes fatal or a catastrophe. Then they point the finger, saying, look what he did. It has the same level on both sides. That's part of the gamesmanship. The biggest problem that we ran into in the 70s with Gerald Ford who politicized the virus, and the vaccine got everybody to push to make this vaccine, and the vaccine was a mess. It's the same thing. When we start politicizing the health and welfare and safety of everybody, we get into these huge counterpoint confusion and conflicts. We still have the same issue, the same conflict with a woman's right to choose. We still have the same political conflict with is there social and racial injustices in our country and in our courts, because we keep politicizing it. And in terms of politics, it's not the politicians that's talking or the people that he represents, it's the money that's backing him that he's talking for.
I think the money is backing both of them, right, is what they're talking about now.
That's what I said. Politics. Yeah. Politicians. I didn't say which politicians. Mm-hmm. Majority of the politicians. Mm-hmm. Oh, boy.
Yeah. Yo, did you see Kamala Harris last night on
No.
on CBS?
No.
I was gonna post a picture because I took a picture from my phone of her on the TV, and then I said, you know what, I'm not gonna do it because I think, you know, because I was going to bed and I would have woken up this morning to like a firestorm on my Facebook page. But if you look at her, have you noticed that she's getting lighter and lighter?
Oh boy.
I'm Diane.
So it's 56.
Those in the colorism of that. I'm not. No. Mm-mm.
Have you? But I want to know if people have noticed that she is getting lighter and lighter.
That could be lighting.
No, that's exactly what I'm talking about, Diane. I'm talking about between the makeup. I'm not suggesting that she is doing what Michael Jackson did, but they are, see, because it's all about imaging. It's all about imaging. It's all about making her palatable. Where, oh, Jody said, I told you. See, if I had just posted the picture, Joe, but you got to watch it. You got to watch because first I watched Biden, right? And if you look at Biden yesterday, you see how they had the lighting and then they had blurred the background, and it was almost the way that they did it was Biden was forward of the background, right? And then they softened it to make him look younger, right? You know, all of that, but you could see it. And then when they had Kamala on, right? Oh boy, hold it. Let's take the call. When they had Kamala on, hold on, second caller. But when they had Kamala on, you could see. And now, if you go back to earlier pictures, right? When she had first announced, right? The photos that were out there of her, just do a side by side. Don't take my word for it. Just do a side by side. And you will see that through the lighting, through the hair, right? Through everything, they have changed her. Call it go.
Oh my God. I don't even know what to say.
Go look at it. Go look at it.
So are you saying that they feel like they have to make Kamala Harris look like a white woman?
Listen, exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying just like when, listen to what I'm saying. Just listen to what I'm saying to you. Listen to what I'm saying to you. This is the same corporation of white supremacy, right? That dictates through the workplace and through other areas of life how if you're going to ascend to certain levels and be palatable, appeal to certain groups, how you have to change, right? That's just.
I'm a conspiracy theory on you, Eric.
I'm sorry?
Conspiracy theory. I'm not Diane, because sometimes, Diane, I have to wait for you. And I'm not going to give attention to the bullshit of that. That is just, I don't care.
But I'm telling you.
I don't care who's they're trying to, if you think they're trying to do that, I don't care, and I'm not looking at that. And as a black woman, I'm not going to have a conversation about colorism because we got enough problems in our own community, and that shouldn't be one of them.
Well, but I think
But I'm gonna just say, get out.
well well but I think that we ought to notice it, right? Because I think anyway, because you ought to be able to be authentic and be who you are, right? And so when we have wait a minute, but when we have the conversation, see, these are hard conversations, right? But when I listen to Jody say, but wait a minute, when I listen to wait a minute, please. When I listen to Jody, okay, I'll let you talk and then you go ahead.
Colorism, politics is not realism. So that's an oxymoron to think that politics is going to give you what's truthful. They don't. It's all a lie. It's like being in Hollywood. It's a lie.
But that's all I'm saying to you. That's my point, right? That it's all makeup, it's all smoke and mirrors, it's all whatever it needs to be able to sell. She's a commodity right now, and they're trying to sell her. They're marketing her and they're trying to sell her. And all I'm saying to you is this. Just like when I listened to Jody say last week, I think it was, that for her to go out and vote to show her daughter, like this was big for her daughter. And I'm going, okay, I got that. But now I'm looking and saying, so, well, do we see what's going on, right? Because if you see it, how do you explain it?
Well, in Eric's defense, the media has done some things to change or sway opinions of subjects. Case in point, O.J. Simpson. When Time did a magazine of O.J. Simpson's trial, they had O.J. Simpson with his police mugshot, and they darkened him.
That's right.
They did. But to suggest, and yes, we know that imaging in terms of politics is 90%.
That's right.
Because only 10% of the people who vote look at the actual subject. Now, I cannot say, nor will I get into, I have to agree with Diane and Jody, that they are changing the complexion of this woman to make her palatable. I think they picked that woman to make her white appeasing. And her stance alone. So I don't think that they have to change her color.
All I'm asking you to do is go look at the photos. That's all I'm asking you to do.
You also have to look at people of color when they are in the sun, they get darker. When they are not in the sun as much, they get lighter. You look at Obama's photos and TV and press conferences. He goes from different.
All I'm asking you to do is look at the photos. All I'm asking you to do is look at the photos. You may have at the end of it, you may have but what I'm saying to you is this. I understand much. Look, to the ad agencies and all of those folks who are now involved, right, in trying to figure out every little way that they can get the upper hand. Every way.
To make this person perfect.
That's right. I'm telling you, I've been there. I've seen it. I know. And so when I saw it last night, I was like, oh my God. But I'm just asking you, just look.
And I've been trying, Diane. I'm trying to try so hard, Diane, and hurts brain. I swear, right? But so this is my problem with this conversation, right? Only from black folk, I feel like when we get this conversation, right? White women around this country they're so excited that it's just a freaking woman that they don't care if she's blue. But we will have those conversations. I think that, I recognize and I realize that there are a group of people that are racist in this country, and there's a group of people that still want us to, pick cotton and whatever. But, there are so many people in this country, especially when you're talking about women, that we feel something different about race, and because we are already under the gun, so we have this added, and I would tell you, if they're lightening her up, this is what's bad about it, and this is what I didn't want to say. If they're lightening conversation other than even with Obama about his color. I've never heard that conversation discussed amongst white people, but we black folks.
No, because I didn't. No. But wait a minute. But to be honest, but to be honest with you, Jody, as I watched in 2008, as I watched in 2007, going into 2008 election, I didn't see that happening with him. Otherwise, I would have talked about
So
it.
that's why Diane and I are like, what the hell are we talking about? Because only with a woman, right, is her. I heard when I was a big Elizabeth Warren, I wanted to see that, right? My brother said to me one day, like, she needs to get some better clothes. I'm like, seriously? He's like, she looks like she doesn't even take a bath. Excuse me? She was the smartest person on the stage because she didn't have on a suit and she wore sweaters as opposed to suit jackets, and because she didn't have this constructed hairdo that was pleasing to him. That was his conversation about her. We have to have that conversation before we talked about her knowledge of foreign policy and this and that. Like, this conversation, and I love you, Eric, but I'm going to punch your nose through the freaking TV screen because that's not cool. Those conversations shouldn't happen. In 2020, that's why it's so big for us, or at least for me. It's so big for me because if it happens and she makes it there, like it would be like shocking because the conversations about women are never about their
No. So be clear. I'm not. No. So be clear. So I want you to be right. But I want you to be. But I want you to be clear about this, right? My conversation, it has nothing to do with her gender, right? Because they like Vincent said, they did that to O.J. Simpson to vilify him, right? They darkened him, right? So for me, it's not about gender. So don't make my comment about her about gender. It is about race, and it is about what has to happen or what does happen when handlers get involved, right, in order to market you to a wider audience. It happens in music. It happens wherever. When you try to a musician tries to cross over, right? They take their music and they change it to be able to cross over. It happens in everything when marketeers get involved. So this isn't, for me, this conversation's not about her gender. It is simply about the fact that they now have a product that they're trying to get a broader appeal for, and this is how they're going about doing it. That's it. To have a wait a minute, but to go further and to say that I'm viewing this as her being a black woman, no, but as a black person, yes.
Okay, Eric, let me quote Quincy Jones. He talked to Ice-T, and they were talking, and Ice-T was upset about how everybody was coming after him, talking about his content of his raps. Quincy Jones said to them, when you let the marketers tell you what to say and what to write, your career is over overnight. When people of color, black musicians start to cross over, they start to gain 3% of an audience and lose 30% of another audience. So that has never proved to be effective for anybody. People have to like you for who and what you are. That's the only stability that you're ever going to have in any chosen field. Except that, yes, minor changes, but major changes in terms of crossing over, no. Why do you think rap is mainstream now? Because most of the artists didn't cross over. The people just started listening to them and not caring that they're dark or light, or that they're rapping about, suburban or suburban lifestyle. They were rapping about life. When politicians stop talking about making effective changes and progressing the quality of life in every individual, when they stop doing that is when their political careers are over. And that's the whole thing with Kamala Harris. She was acceptable because of her position to white America. She wasn't accepted because of her color.
honestly, Eric, I'm not saying that you do it intentionally. I think it's just, and I'm being very honest, I just think it's the way. I just think that, we're programmed that way. To, when you see a woman in power, you look at her as a woman, and then it starts, and then you start getting those layers, right? Some will say, like my brother said, she has to dress up better, right? And most of the time, Trump in a suit looks like a raggedy piece of trash in a suit, right? But when you see a woman, I don't think it's intentional. I don't think that Eric Dawson is that guy that you have daughters and they are smart and you. So I don't believe that that's your intention. I think it is your training. Sorry. I think it is sometimes, and here, to be fair, even women do it to women. It's just like the training of this country to when you see a woman, whether she's the most powerful woman or not, that's just what you do. I pray for the day that we get beyond that, but yeah, I do think that's about women. I don't think that the conversations. I'm like Diane, and I fell for it, but I don't. So I think that we shouldn't even have the conversation. I think moving forward, like Diane just tried to do, now I'll just talk myself into it. Diane said, I don't want to have that conversation. I think we have to stop like having those conversations because it is a programming. It works. It happens, and so we do that. And I just think that's tragic. I really do. But I do believe that you are having this conversation because that is a woman. No. That's how we see them. We don't see.
First of all, they don't see how orange Trump gets and doesn't get. We don't have that.
Yeah.
No, but if you trace,
Yeah, we do.
yeah, but if you trace my comments, but if you trace. But if you trace my comments back, and I certainly didn't have this platform in '98, I had similar conversations about Cory Booker, right, and his appeal, right, and his fair skin, and demeanor that that gave him crossover appeal, right?
I don't know about that, but because Cory Booker is almost translucent, so he can't get no bigger than what he naturally is. I don't know where that conversation.
Historically.
But see, but understand, some of it is, but some of it is. No. But right. But part of the conversation then isn't always about. So sometimes it is how do you, through lighting, through makeup, adjust that, and then others is how do you do it through demeanor and cadence and speak.
Let's change
right.
the conversation. Is Kamala Harris qualified for the position that she's running for?
Yes, she is.
Sure, she is. But wait. So what I'll say is this: she's qualified for the position, but she ain't got nothing for me.
Okay. I didn't ask you if she had anything for you.
Right.
I just said
Well, no, that's important to say though, right? Because I don't want to leave that dangling.
Because I didn't ask your opinion on that. I just said, is she qualified?
She's not qualified to do anything for me. Based on her, so I'll say that. She's not qualified to do anything for foundational Black Americans based on her own words.
No. She's not qualified for you.
No. She said, I don't have anything specific. No, she said, no. Wait, Vincent. No, from her own mouth, she said, I don't have anything specific for Black people. She didn't say for Eric. She said for Black people.
That doesn't make her unqualified for the position. There's two different things. Either you're qualified to be the principal or you're not qualified to be the principal. You're qualified to be the janitor or you're not qualified to be the janitor. That's it.
Right.
That's it. Either you're qualified for the position or you are not.
Right. And what I'm saying is this.
Qualified to take the position.
She's qualified for that particular position. Now, what she does with the position is what you're talking about.
Well,
what she gonna do
right,
for
but
us,
no. But the question that so to answer the question again, when you say, well, what is the role? What is the role of a vice president?
She said it's she qualified.
Wait, to fulfill the role. So what is the role?
No. Okay.
Wait a minute.
The role.
Yes,
the role
wait a minute,
is
Vincent, stop for a
African
second.
American.
But Vincent, wait a minute, wait. When you ask somebody if they're qualified, I say qualified for what? Right? So now I go, well, what is the job description? So for
And
me,
she said qualified for vice president.
right, and so for
That
me,
position.
the job description of a freaking vice president, right, is not to take care of one part of the country and not the other. So as a foundational Black American, I'm going, she ain't got shit for me. So now qualified for what? To handle my business? Is she qualified to handle my business?
Well, that's
And she said that she ain't got nothing for me. Those were her words, not mine. And I'm not paraphrasing.
So Hillary Clinton, right, was the most qualified person to ever run for the office of president based on qualifications. So that's education and career.
Not for Black people.
Serving in this, serving in that, right?
Not for Black people.
Get this out. All right. So she was the most qualified person to ever run for the office of presidency in the 45 presidents we've had.
Not for Black
Still
people.
more qualified
Okay.
than any president that ever held the office, right? She was, and she lost an election based on, right, that Mueller report and the FBI was investigating Hillary Clinton 10 days before the election, right? It wasn't savvy. It wasn't the greatest scam in the world, right? But it freaking
It
worked,
was
right?
effective,
They
yeah.
tried that same game plan on Joe Biden in the last 14 days of the election. Same scenario, and actually have a little bit more on Joey. They got the computer scam and okay, all right.
They got the hard drive.
They got some stuff on Joe Biden, but it didn't work. It didn't work because, in my opinion, and I think I think my opinion is actually factual, is because she was a woman. This country wasn't ready for that, and so we use that as an excuse, or some folks use that as an excuse to undermine that moment, right? And then what if we get in return for that, the ousting of a woman, we got the most unqualified person to ever sit in a freaking office. He's not even qualified for the stuff he did prior to because of that moment. So when you're talking about qualifications, Eric, I hate to say this, but this is not the Black United States of America.
No, I'm not suggesting it is.
States of America. This is just the United States of America, right?
Right.
So while I get it that you feel like they are not your voice, okay, but that doesn't really matter, Eric. When you're talking about qualifications for a job, right? I can't be a marketing person because I'm not qualified. You are, right? And no matter whether I'm green, yellow, or blue, it wouldn't really matter whether I market to white people, market to Black people, or market to both, or market to one. It doesn't really matter. You're still more qualified than I am to do a marketing campaign for freaking anything. By the way, your marketing is so good, so beautiful that I expect to have some Grandma Emma giving out for Christmas, because that's just nice, right? The way you package it, the way when I look at you marketing it on your social media page, and when I get Grandma Emma's coming up on my page just alone, I was like, wow, I like that six pack, the way you pictured it, the way it's, yeah, that's what makes you very good at whatever you want to market. You get that all. Hillary Clinton should not have ever had to discuss that, because when you put those two people together, she was just more qualified.
Yeah.
Well, can I real quick? The qualifications for the Vice President of the United States is an individual that must be a natural-born U.S. citizen, be at least 35 years of age, and be a resident of the United States for at least 14 years. Now, is qualified
So,
to be the
you
vice
know what?
president.
But we went through this conversation. Hold on one second. I got a caller, but I want to say this because we went through this in local elections, right, where we discuss the difference between qualifications and requirements, right? So
No.
wait,
What,
all right, I'm
okay,
gonna
go ahead. Go ahead.
right.
What you
Well,
have
you
to
said you were gonna let me
distinguish-
go ahead, and then you go ahead and talk,
Oh,
right?
no, but because you said go ahead. So you go
No,
ahead.
I didn't.
And, okay.
Right.
What we have to
And you're still
distinguish
talking.
Diane- Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead,
Would you like to
Vincent.
go?
No, go ahead,
No
Vincent.
self-control.
Okay. What you have to distinguish between Diane's question is she qualified to be the vice president, or is she going to get your vote? And you're pushing, it seems to me, and I could be wrong, that you are pushing a narrative of her getting your vote versus her fitting the qualifications to be a candidate for vice president.
Right. So what I'm doing, and then I want to take the call. I'll tell you exactly what I'm doing. So firstly, I want to say there's a difference to me between requirements and qualifications, right? You can meet requirements, meaning that you're over a certain age, that you live in a certain district, that you have been a natural born citizen. Those to me are requirements, right? Not qualifications. The things that qualify you is your ability then to execute on whatever it is you need to do. So you have impact, right? And so when Jody says to me that I'm qualified as a marketing guy, but if I go to get a job for a pharmaceutical company, no matter how much marketing experience I have, they won't hire me because I'm not qualified in that particular industry, right? Even though the title is marketing executive, right? I don't have the experience in that particular industry, and there are other industries that I don't have experience in. So me simply saying that I'm a marketing guy, right, without being able to apply impact in those different.
You've gone down a rabbit hole. You've gone down a rabbit hole.
No, good. No, but it's very important to. And so for me, as these United States, right? You have. I'm saying, okay. So you've got LGBTQ community. You've got white women. You've got suburban women, right? Which are not all white. You've got name all of these different things. I'm going. So when you step into that, right, you're looking at all of this, and I'm saying, well, okay, then you should have a plan to have impact on all of this. And so when I look and you say to me specifically, I ain't got nothing for you, I'm going, no, well, then you're not qualified to handle my business. You may be qualified to handle those Jews' business, or you may be. Let me fit. Don't. No. Let me finish, Vincent. You may have the qualifications to handle those suburban women's business. You may have the qualifications to handle that business over there, but you, by your own mouth, are not qualified to handle mine. Call or go.
Hi, Eric. This is Dre. How you guys doing this morning?
What's going on, man?
I want to say exactly what you were saying. You took the words out of my mouth. And at the end of the day, qualification is subjective to who's actually doing the interview. Who I may deem qualified may not be who you deem qualified. And again, as long as everything is requirement, they can interview with me, but that doesn't mean they're qualified. At least I won't deem them qualified. And second, I want to say, I hope nobody takes offense, but Jody and Vince are being hypocrites because they're saying that Hillary Clinton was qualified when she ran.
Hello, I think I got cut off.
Divine intervention.
No, Dre said.
Jesus. Hallelujah.
So moving on to the next subject. Did you hear that the Catholic Church has, for the first time ever, named a black man as a cardinal? So
Bishop.
you talk about a bishop. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. And so if you talk about racism and you want to talk about qualifications and all of that, are you telling me that qualifications don't run as deep as it goes into religion? Wilton Gregory, the Archbishop of Washington, was among the 13 new cardinals that Pope Francis on Sunday named as the Archbishop in the highest governing body, groundbreaking act in a year when demands of racial justice have consumed the country. So basically, racism runs all the way into religion that blocks qualified people from getting positions.
Well, I have to say this. Requirements is the actual measure that the people have in their experience that makes them qualified. And the new bishop, had all the requirements. He has a consistently growing congregation, and he supports his other priests. He is engaged with them in their activity, their process. He visits a lot. He is very noted. It was one of the best choices that they could make, and it does move the needle in terms of race and positions.
I have to disagree. The only reason he was put in a position is because of the last sentence that I stated, racial injustice. They chose a black man, and they said now's the time we need to get the black people on our bandwagon because they're losing support and financing. Yes, can I have a small chocolate mint, please? Hot chocolate mint. That's it.
Can you get me a chocolate mocha latte?
Oh, sorry, no. I can't. But that is the only reason that he was chosen, because now this is black talk period. So when this period is over, like it was with reparations in a conversation with the vice presidential candidate, this too shall pass.
Well, it may pass, but for right now, even though, hey, look, there's a lot of that, what you said, I agree with. Maybe it was the pressure of the injustice and inequalities of promoting bishops. However, he's in. That moves the needle.
Yeah, I don't know what needle moves, but okay. So in New York City,
the needle we move is that we got the first one in.
In New York City and around the country, there have been over 30,000 evictions that have been filed with the courts.
Mm-hmm.
And the landlords are pushing back and stating that they can no longer continue without getting their rent, even though people are saying we need you to, cancel our rent. So when you talk about the government as a whole working, none of those candidates, neither Biden or Trump, nor Pence, nor Kamala, have spoken about the rent conditions and how this is affecting the economy as well, and what plans they have to alleviate the property owners.
Well, but
you
this
can't
is
cancel rent until you deal with the property
right.
owners.
But this,
the part of the thing that's stalling it right now is the second economic package that's supposed to go out, and in there is the support monies for people who owe rent to pay that goes to their landlord. So the thing that's really killing me is that everybody's playing politics, and the common man or the American citizens are being affected by it. And we're looking at a disproportionate amount of blacks being evicted right now because of this virus. And part of the pressure shouldn't be on that. It should be getting this thing signed. People should be calling these senators right now and all of these Republicans and tell them to stop playing politics. The election is going on right now. Get this bill passed because we need help.
but isn't this what Diane was talking about last week? I think it was Diane, where we were saying, well, why is it being held up? And you concluded that Nancy Pelosi didn't want Donald Trump's name on this check. Right. So when you now look and see, based on what you just said, Vincent, that you've got a disproportionate number of blacks who are being evicted, right? And then all of a sudden they get a relief check that has Donald Trump's name on it a week or so before the election. What might that do in terms of swaying votes? So when we talk about people willing to sacrifice lives, right, for the sake of them maintaining power in their particular political office, it's a damn shame.
I have to agree with that part. However, one of the big is that, and one of them's a Republican, is that they're saying the underlying what's going on, the meeting in the room with the door closed, that they talk plan and strategy, is that they're talking, yes, we're going to talk, but Donald Trump is saying, no, we're going to hold.
Right, but well,
But see, the bigger issue is the local government because it's the local government who created these rent moratoriums. It wasn't the president. They created a plan with no backup to the plan.
That is true. That is 100% true. And you know, every actual city where they're holding the eviction, the mayors have the power, and the council has the power right now to hold off on rent until this and evictions until this process actually is through.
right. And so
But
now
they,
go ahead.
go
Let's
ahead, go
follow
ahead.
this up the food chain. And why won't they do it?
There you go.
See, no, don't say there you go. Let's talk about why they won't do it. There is an impression during election season that they want to give that says your pain and suffering right now is because of the orange man in the White House. And see, we could all be alleviated. So that message that comes from a Democrat Party right now is coming down saying all of this, all of it is his fault. Once you go out and vote Democrat and get rid of him. So when you have this conversation, even Vincent, about how when Republican states decided to follow Donald Trump, and so they got funding, and when the Democrat states didn't, they were denied funding. I'm saying let's look at what's happening at the local level, right? Where folks who are Democrats, because they don't want to do this, because they want to give this image, right? Folks who should be getting relief are not getting it, right? They're being penalized because of politics again. This is crazy.
And I'm not in disagreement with that.
And so my thing is, where are the voices, right, that speak about that say, you know what, this is perpetual and it's not gonna change, because in the end all of them are narcissistic. They all want to just be reelected, and then they're just gonna reset at the end of this election, right? They're going to run back to their respective corners to protect their individual seats and their little pet projects and jobs and stuff. And American people, by and large, will continue to suffer, and disproportionately, it will be black people.
Well, you know, Eric, I don't disagree with that. But what I'd like to say is that if there are some politicians that would like to be heroes and get elected by a great deal of people who don't like them, one thing that they can actually do is start going into these coffers and these emergency funds and put out a side that says, okay, one, we're going to hold evictions, or even two, we're going to give some funding to landlords so that they can pay portions of their mortgage until this bill is passed. But no, everybody wants to get into the jackassery of this is what's happening and pointing the finger. Rather, they want to point the blame rather than point to a solution.
Well, first of all, on a local level, there are no coffers or surplus left. Every city and town and county has depleted any extra money they may have had. That's why they're doing furloughs. That's why they're doing layoffs, because there is no money left, because tax money is not coming in. So you're talking about people who have lost their jobs, who pay into the tax system, who pay into the surplus. That's not happening because they're no longer receiving rent money. They're no longer have a job, so they can't pay their property taxes. So that has already been depleted. So to give the illusion that they have money to put aside to pay for other people's rent is not palatable. It's not even possible. What they did not do was, when they decided to create a moratorium on rent, they didn't have a conversation the same way when they created Affordable Care Act. They didn't have a conversation with the people that it affects the most, the property owners, the banks, because the banks aren't coming off of any money to just give back or to stop receiving payments because you can't collect rent or you can't pay your mortgage. They're going to do the next step that they did in the 2007 is they're going to start foreclosing on people's properties. And the only reason that people aren't being put out at this point is because the backlog is so high now. They said they would have to be dealing more with evictions and sending sheriffs out to physically pull people out of houses that they don't have the capacity to do. So they put us in a situation that's even worse than the situation that we started off in. So when you talked about they're going to fight coronavirus first and then we'll deal with the economic problem, they should have been able to do both at the same time, because they should have been able to look at this and say, look, we can't shut down restaurants and businesses, because if we shut them down, there's no income. If there's no income, they can't pay for the stuff that they have. They didn't look at that. So you have elected incumbents again who are stupid. It's just plain and simple. They can't manage their own checkbooks, let alone the checkbooks of the city, the county, or the state. And that's the problem.
But let's Diane. But to your point. Remember when Ras Baraka, and we just can talk about him, but he's not the only one, right? When he was shutting stuff down and shutting it down, and be still Tuesdays and no work Mondays and stay home Saturdays and relax on Thursdays. We're like, okay, so how's that going to work? How's that going to work with the economy? And to your point, there was no balance, right? It was just saying it was reactionary without thinking, right? Without balancing the science with, and this is what I said last week. You've got these two different entities. You've got scientists whose job is to give you the science. And then you've got economists who tell you what the impact is going to be. And you as the leader have to lead from in front that deciphers all of that information to figure out how not to have the solution be worse than the virus. Right? Because now you can create a scenario, which is what we're dealing with now. I mean, they're talking about suicide rates being on the rise, right? Calls to these suicide hotlines being out of control right now. Depression being at an all-time, anxiety. People, domestic abuse, all of this, right? So yeah, you got COVID-19 over here, but this stuff on this side is mounting up. And then who's dealing with it? And who's looking and going, you know what? I had it on a local level. We had it wrong. We shouldn't have done, huh?
Remember how we talked about leadership earlier? NFL leadership? One thing that the COVID virus did was exploited failed leadership on all ends.
And folks need to pay attention to this because, like I said, if you don't get rid of these people, and so this is where I'm finding, and I've on my trips to the store and other things that I do, I try to talk to as many people who are willing to talk about what's going on. And there are a lot of people who just don't see how to untangle this in an election. Like they see that it's so interdependent that the ineptitude that people who have these career political jobs are so interdependent on each other, and the ineptitude of the next person and the fear of getting a competent person in there that they might expose, right? The inner workings of this, catastrophe that they say, like, I don't even know where to begin. It's like getting a ball of yarn, right? That's all one. You get frustrated trying to untangle it. You just throw it in the garbage and you walk away from it. And that's what, I'm getting by a large number of people going like, yeah, I don't see how this thing is going to get fixed. So I don't know.
Well, I don't know about seeing how this thing is going to get fixed, but what it's going to take to fix it is that we're going to actually have to vote in right now new leaders that are willing to tackle this, to take it on. There's going to be some trial and error. There's going to be some success and failure. But the worst thing that can happen, or that is happening, is that we have leaders that do nothing.
Right.
Point the finger.
So listen, I was listening to the news today too, and they were talking about passing legislation. Paraphrasing. So I was trying to multitask, and I think I missed a little bit of it. But they were talking about the inequity when it comes to technology in the age of COVID-19, right? So you've got these households that, don't have adequate anything, right? And some don't have laptops or iPads and things that work, let alone have them at all. And that they were saying that it should be a right, right, for every student to have one, right? That they should legislate that, and I'm just concerned that, given where we are, I really don't think that this thing is going to be. I'm talking about COVID-19. It's going to be resolved in the next year and a half or so, and I don't know that there's a long range plan for educating American students, right? Virtually, and in particular, and I just got to keep looking at, black kids. There's no long-term plan to do that. So maybe fighting and having it as a right, then you can begin to, demand in a more forceful way these things.
Until we take control of our own education and stop waiting for other people to educate our kids, we will be behind. And if we don't look at other cultures who have done that and they have made education priority in their families, you will see the difference in where we are as Black Americans. Now, you're talking about providing laptops and stuff like that. Yeah, they should have access to affordable education tools. And the schools should be providing them if that is how they're going to be going in the future of more virtual learning. They should have those resources. But it is not up to still the schools to educate our kids. And if we haven't used COVID as an example to see that, then we are stupid. We're just stupid. Because we don't want to face the fact that our kids are behind. Our kids are lacking, not all because of the school system, not all because of the resources, but some of that comes from us as parents and guardians. And not just individuals, but our village of kids, that we are not taking responsibility enough to say, look, we need to create educational pods for our kids because our kids are suffering. We need to do this because we're going to take a group of kids and we're going to learn these things, or we're going to put them in activities to make sure that they learn these things. There was a commercial the other day. They started the campaign for Girl Scouts that's going to be partnering with, I think it's Chase Bank, to teach them civics so that they can understand civics and why people in government don't look like them. We have to take control of this. Otherwise, you can give everybody a laptop, everybody a Chromebook. That don't mean they're going to use it. That is not going to make them any smarter and more accessible to the resources.
I had a similar conversation last week about that, and I expressed that one of the big things is that, parents need to get more involved in their children's education. And I got shouted down and called out of touch.
Well, Vincent, you are out of touch when it comes to most things, so. But what I'm saying is nowhere near what you're saying in regards to parents are at fault.
No, I'm not saying they're at fault. I'm saying that they have a level of culpability.
They need to start working together. And where you see in a village when somebody is lacking, other people should be stepping in to help. Whether your village is your church, whether your village is your sorority or your fraternity or whatever it is that you claim to be your village, somebody should be helping to pick up the slack where you're unable to do it for your child.
I agree. And if I can add to that, one of the things is that we have to stop waiting on someone else to save us, and we need to work harder at saving ourselves.
I ain't touching that.
Thank you, Jody.
Yeah.
Jody and I are seeing each other. We eye to eye right now. Okay. So Netflix is partnering with Norfolk State University in Virginia so that they will be the first ever virtual HBCU boot camp. So they're going to be creating a technical industry for them to partner to provide technical company, which is to you, if you've ever heard of that company before, so that they can provide them with the power of technology for their communities, their culture, creating a space in the industry for all voices to make it stronger, blah, blah, blah. The program for the students in the class of 2019 and 2020 alumni will launch at Norfolk State University in January. It will be a 16-week program that will take in 130 students. Participants in the program can choose from 3 programs that will track either Java engineering, UX, UI design, and data science. What are your thoughts on that? And then, no, don't even give me your thoughts on that because I don't really care. But here's so remember that we had a conversation some time back about one of the bank, I believe, presidents that came out, the CEO for Wells Fargo that came out and talked about in his memo how employees are blaming a lack of diversity in their ranks and that there was a limited pool of black talent in to recruit from. So, mute your phone, Jody. So, the president of Howard University has now spoken out, and he says he has a unique window into the African-American students within his own institution and fellow historically black colleges and universities and other centers of higher education. It says the talent he sees every day is immense and inspiring. Black students and alumni have a depth of capabilities and diverse passions and ambitions. They leave our campuses eager to work hard and ready to change our industries, our society, and our world. So that was his response to him to that nonsensical memo saying that there's not enough black people that are interested in there and the pool is very small. But we know this. We know what the BS that they say and why they say it. Now you can give your thoughts.
Yeah. Well, because I'm sorry, Diane, I was listening to you partly, but I was also looking at a comment by in the thread by Dave Tucker Sr. and where
Give it to us. What was his comment?
so his comment is, while kids are suffering and falling behind, also, let's not make this about race. All of America. Wait. All of America's kids are suffering. Now, I'm not suggesting that all of America's kids. Well, firstly, no, all of America's kids are not suffering. We have some very affluent kids who are not suffering at all, right? They have everything that they need. So let us not say all of America's kids are suffering. They may be slightly inconvenienced, but they're not suffering. But when we talk about those who are suffering, it is about race, Dave. It is. Every indicator out there says that no matter what the suffering is, blacks are suffering at a greater rate, no matter what it is. They're suffering at a greater rate in terms of deaths in COVID-19, susceptible because of underlying conditions, susceptible to food insecurities, housing insecurities, susceptible to all of these things, unemployment, everything. So when you like that's crazy that you look and say, no, that doesn't exist. Everybody's suffering. All boats are rising and falling at the same. No, it's not. It's not. And that narrative that people were able to float no longer You're no longer really able to do that in broader circles, in very, very small circles of people who want to kind of cling to that as a way of not admitting the idea of white privilege and systemic racism and structural racism and white supremacy and all that kind of stuff, right? Because they don't want to really admit that. So they say, well, no, 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 things are not that bad. No, they're really bad. Really, really, really bad. And yeah, there are households. I had my cousin Mark on. He works for a nonprofit out of Delaware. Well, I think they're out of Pennsylvania. He lives in Delaware. And he said that he makes house visits and had to come out of his own pocket to buy hot spots for families because they don't have access. This is real. Like I'd like to see the data that you were looking at, Dave, that suggests that white American kids are suffering at the same rate as Black American children.
Well, Dave is not familiar with the cliche. When white America catches the cold, Black America gets pneumonia.
Well, that's a cliche, but I want to see the data that supports what he's saying.
I like to see it too.
Well, Dave is also the same person who doesn't understand what systematic racism really is. And most white people don't understand it because, like you said before, it's white privilege. They don't understand white privilege. They just know they got an advantage.
Right.
So to explain to somebody like that, you'd have to go all
No.
But
I even believe, Diane, that they don't believe they have an advantage. That that there's this belief that says, no, the reason, which is what Vincent was saying last week, the reason that you haven't achieved is because you haven't tried hard enough. But the opportunities are there. Just work harder. And that is that false narrative that says, we're behind because we haven't engaged in this rugged individualism.
No, and that's not what Vincent was saying. And Vincent couldn't get that point out last week. I said that, yes, it does take a little more effort, but I'm saying that it's not impossible to make some sort of steps or movements. You just have to put forth some effort. And I was saying that in relationship to some people seem to believe that all they have to do is sit back and wait, and then these things will happen. No, for some things you have to get off your butt.
And white people don't see it as a privilege. They don't call it a privilege. It is their normal.
Yeah.
That's why they don't understand.
It's like air, right? It's like air.
It's always been there.
Yeah, it's just there. It's just, and then why can't you breathe? That's what their thing is. Like, why aren't you able to breathe? This is here.
So it's normal for them.
Yeah.
Like when my mother stopped doing my laundry, I was like, "What do you mean? You always do my laundry. Why I had to do my laundry?"
Yeah.
She explained to me, "No, I did it. It was a privilege."
So listen, lighter note. Last night I had the taste I had all this food in my house. I had oxtails and peas and rice. I had cabbage. I had collard greens with turkey. I made some cornbread. I had all this stuff and couldn't figure out what I wanted to eat. So I said last night I had a taste for some yams, Diane. And I was so lazy. I was going to go around the corner and actually buy like a side of yams from one of my favorite soul food places. And then Amina said, Baba, why don't you just make a pan of yams? And so I screamed and hollered about it, but ultimately did it. Do you make your own yams?
Yeah.
Do you like raisins in them?
No, that's not yams.
No.
That's disgusting. Everyday yams are traditional everyday yams. Thanksgiving yams have marshmallows on them.
No, not yet. No, the souffle has marshmallows on it.
We don't souffle nothing up in our house. It's sliced and diced and laid. No souffle.
And then you put it's the souffle that has the.
That's the white side of you. We don't souffle. Maybe when Dave Tucker souffle, but I don't souffle.
No, I don't souffle either, but I've had my grandmother. No, now see, my grandmother is souffle. She's from deep south, right? So,
Yeah, well, yeah, so
and the marshmallows on top, right? And then you put you put it in the oven, you let it, and then you put it in the
that's the way I.
broiler, and you let the marshmallows darken, and then you put on the table. But that was separate from, from traditional yams,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
So, did you end up making your yams?
yeah, I didn't put, my sister puts raisins in them, and I kind of like it. I kind of like it. Now, what you can do, right, to get an additional flavor, you can soak the, you'd like this though, Diane. You could soak the raisins overnight in rum.
No, still gross. And you could do that and put it in your rum cake, but I'm not putting it on my yams.
I'm gonna give you some yams with it on there.
I'm not going to eat them. Pick around it. So what's going on with Mitch McConnell's hands? Have you ever watched that show, Lovecraft Country?
What's wrong with his hands, Diane?
Listen, have you ever watched the show Lovecraft Country?
No, I don't watch those shows.
It's really a good show. It comes on HBO. You have to watch it. It's it has, oh God, I can't think of the actresses and who's in it, but it doesn't matter because Van somebody, I can't.
The Smollett woman, sister.
So anyway, it's a sort of like a sci-fi Black history show. I thought we talked about this before. But anyway, one of the episodes, a couple of the episodes start off with the witches who have given a potion to the Black girl that allows her to have white privilege. And she drinks this bloody potion, and she literally turns into what she wants to be as a white woman. And she's able to go into stores and get the privilege that they normally get. Now, mind you, this is set in the 60s, in the 30s or 40s.
Mm-hmm.
So she's now getting privileges that no Black person would ever get. So going back to that, as she transitions, you can literally see her body peeling off of her, the Black skin peeling off of her, and she's turning into a white woman. When it only lasts for a certain amount of time, and then it'll transition back, and you'll see the white skin falling off of her, and her Black skin coming out of it. Literally, they show it because it's like sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
So Miss Connell, now, if you haven't seen it, I'm going to send you the link right now so you can look at it. And if you open it up wide enough, you can show it so other people can see it as well. Just sent it. And Mitch McConnell is apparently having some type of, I don't know, health issues or something. But my quote or my statement that I said is, don't tell me that Mitch McConnell is really a black man underneath all this white skin.
Wait a minute, it came through on my phone, but not on the computer yet. I got a delay.
Okay. Oh, you tell it to you too?
No. It'll come through on my computer. It just there's a delay.
Okay, so when you see the picture, just open up the picture and look at and widen it to look at his hands. And you can't tell me that he is not really a Black man in disguise.
Yeah, he's got his white hand is turning black.
So he is not speaking out about it, not making any comments as to what the problem is. Apparently, he is having some type of health issues because his last debate he canceled, refused to go to, canceled, however you want to say it. So basically, they're trying to keep him propped up until he can get past this election. But I believe that something is medically wrong.
Well, wait a minute. I'm trying to look, Diane. I'm scrolling through. Where's this? So the article you
the
just
main picture, and just open up the picture. With him, he's like standing in like in some open doors.
okay.
Right.
Caller, go while I'm trying to find this. Okay, wait a minute. So I see him. He's got a blue suit on.
Yes.
Yes. Now look at his right hand.
Open up the blow it up a little bit.
Oh, I see. Wait a minute. You know what? Go ahead, caller. Go ahead, caller.
I don't know where you guys are in the conversation. I had to pull off and talk because I've been really diving into the period around emancipation and all of the shenanigans that went on back then in regards to the gentleman that spoke, in the comment section. and they came up with all of these laws, and they came up this on the federal level, what they call gradual emancipation, because they didn't want to have to, people, the advancement of black people to interfere with the quality of life of white people. So they came up with these laws called gradual emancipation. And we're still suffering from this because, when people talk about, all the kids are suffering, and, and hold on, let me turn this thing down, my earpiece down. But, and they, people, especially the conversation we had about the schools and everything like that, and going forward with the education system, we gotta come out of this, so a few people advancing and everybody else is gonna interfere with a few advancing. And it's a mental thing in this country that perpetuate all of this stuff over these years, hundreds and hundreds of years. And now we're at a point right now, and everything has been flipped on its head, and we're still talking about, oh no, we can't, because of people's socio-economic conditions, we can't totally go in and revamp the whole system because it's going to interfere with a few succeeding. And I mean, people are just all warped in their thinking when it comes to this, because if we don't do something and all of these kids are end up in a bad situation, it's going to be bad for everybody. Because they're going to be out here trying to survive like you. Mm-hmm. But, listen, I listen to it because a lot of times I can't call in, but that conversation you were having with the parents, I was just going to say people's socioeconomic conditions don't afford them the time, either are they educated enough to be able, they're just trying to survive. So when you start talking about people pulling themselves up by their own bootstraps and broad brushing people,
hold on. If you got the conversation, not once did it come out of my mouth that people pull themselves up by the bootstrap. I said it's going to take a little more effort.
Well, what does that mean? Yeah. Tell me the difference.
Okay, well, if we're going to rehash that.
No, we ain't going to rehash.
Yeah, but I just don't understand the difference whether I say so. Right.
Because it's, you know what I mean?
Here is what it means. Eric gave a description of his grandmother, how she puts forth the effort.
I heard the conversation.
And that's all I'm saying, is that we have to put forth the effort. Okay? If it means that if I don't have Wi-Fi, that I had to take my child to Dunkin' Donuts an hour a day so that they could get their homework done, then
that's provided there's a Dunkin' Donuts in your area, or provided you have a car.
Who is to say that people's socioeconomic conditions afford them to sit in the Dunkin' Donuts for an hour? If you can't afford to talk to them, people want you out of here. Why are you in here?
Listen. I said Dunkin' Donuts, not Starbucks, where they want you to buy something to sit there. You can sit in Dunkin' Donuts and get Wi-Fi.
All Dunkin' Donuts don't have that same policy. I didn't hear from the corporate level that bring your kids to Dunkin' Donuts and just sit and take up my table. Each table is worth so much money to them.
Then I tell you what? I'll tell you what. This is what I'll do after this call. I'm gonna call up some Dunkin' Donuts and ask them if parents don't have Wi-Fi, can they do it? Because
I said from a corporate level. That's gonna have to happen from a corporate level. Yeah, there are some Donuts that don't mind, but then there's some Dunkin' Donuts that do mind. So if you go into one of those Dunkin' Donuts that do mind, they will end up calling the police on you and your whole family for picking up a table. So from a corporate level, I haven't heard they're not going to do it.
And that is right, because from a corporate level, nobody has heard that. But also from any other standpoint, because we're going down a rabbit hole. We haven't heard anybody said that they could do that.
I'm not going to let you take me down a rabbit hole by saying nobody has said that. But what I'm going to tell you, I'm going off of your comment that you said that these people can do. I was responding to something specific you said, and you must be the nobody. So what I'm saying, I'm going on specifically what you said. For people to be able to go and sit in a Dunkin' Donuts without fear of them calling the police on you is going to have to come from a corporate level.
Thank you.
That's all I'm saying. And people and you got to take, brother, when you make these statements, you have to take people's socio-economic conditions into consideration and don't broad brush all people.
So can I comment on Mitch McConnell's hand now? So
No. But if I could, if I gave you the impression that I'm painting a broad brush on every child that's underperforming in school, then you got the wrong picture. Okay, and what I'm saying is this. Okay, this is a virus. This is new. Everybody is in new conditions, and everybody's dealing with a level of frustration. But also what I noticed is that everybody is looking at what they don't have instead, I'm sorry, not everybody. A lot of people are focusing on what they miss and don't have rather than focusing on what they have right now. And a lot of people are focusing on what they can't do rather than focusing on the little things that they can do. Okay? And it's going to take effort from a lot of people to make it successful for our children. That's it.
right. So anyway, my comment about Mitch McConnell's hand is I think that he just wants to be able to say, "Give me 5 on the black hand side."
Oh, Lord.
Liver conditions, blood is not.
Yeah, that's
circulating right.
yeah, and they don't want to come out and say that because that would then deter his supporters. So I think he's trying to keep it under wraps until the election.
Wait a minute, what do you think it is?
Anyway, so I'm predicting he's lose.
Well, the polls have already showing that he's losing. Yeah.
Well, they're going to subvert. I mean, a lot of people going to leave, but they're going to have that Supreme Court back. The lady going to get confirmed today. And I also heard something on the show where somebody said that they agree with the conservative views she had, because when this woman side with those people in those conservative positions on the court, and they take women's rights over their bodies away, and you got to explain to your nieces, daughters, and kids why they can't protect themselves. You know, this woman is. Mitch McConnell might not be there, Lindsey Graham might not be there, but that woman going to be on that court for 30 or 40 years.
Absolutely.
30 or 40 years.
Yeah, definitely.
Biden wins. If he wins, he is definitely going to restructure the court system. That's definitely going to happen. So, it's going to be one of those things. And then he'll be putting on people that he thinks supports what he wants them to support. But either way, none of them support black people. So that's the bottom line.
Well, for Biden for that to actually happen, it's not going to be Biden's choice, because that's more of an act of Congress to make that happen in terms of restructuring.
Right, but you know what though? But we're playing semantics here again, right? Because when we look at the structure of the political parties, right, and so for instance, take all of this money right now that is being funneled into the Democratic Party for Biden's race, right? So, and what do we know? Because we talked about this. A congressional seat is a 2-year term, right? You govern, legislate 1 year, and next year you're running for re-election, right? So to have for Biden to have the coffers to be able to go after all of the congressional folks who don't go along with his idea of packing the court, right, and to threaten them, because we know that that's what will happen, right? So to say, well, this isn't really Biden's thing, this is the Congress. Well, yeah, it is. But when we know the interdependency of the Congress on the overall system, right? Well, yeah, it is. Well, it is. Isn't even Biden's thing, is it? It's the oligarchs' thing, right? It's all of those people who are contributing right now to the Democratic Party who are going to make a determination about what they want to do. So this idea of packing the court, whether Biden wants it or not, it's going to be something, an edict that comes down from those who are making this investment, this huge investment on the Democratic side.
And Biden, we have to remember that Biden is centrist. He's already probably done made some deals with some Republicans to be in his cabinet, and he, to me, he's going to be more interested in pulling the Republicans into a position to govern. And they're going to be coming in. Hey, buddy, if you even thinking about changing that Supreme Court, we ain't coming in. We're going to keep this neutral position we got. We're going to keep this neutral position of the government over here. And going back to what the conversation was earlier, everything is dependent on what we put, how we maneuver ourselves into a position to make Biden or whatever president that's in office do what we want them to do.
Right.
If we can't do that, like the Tea Party did, we might as well just stand over there in the corner and be quiet, because it all depends on what we can force a president to do.
Absolutely. But we force them to do it.
We're not maneuvering in an aggressive way to force him to even take up our issues. He's going to, after elected, if he wins, he's going to be like, oh, you're going to be an afterthought. Yeah, we'll get to you. Maybe the next term, like the Obama years. Yeah, we'll get you in the next term. You know what I mean? Get the next term come and go, and you'll be an afterthought then, too.
Yeah.
But everything is dependent on, us being able to move the politicians the way we want them to move, instead of moving in an electric slide.
And I think that part of moving them is now coming to the realization that we have power in our votes, and when we don't get out to vote, we don't get their attention.
Okie dokie.
Well,
Your vote might get them in, but it ain't no guarantee they're going to do it.
Well, no, there's no guarantee. In fact, there is no guarantee anything. In fact, there's not a guarantee that Biden's going to get in and work on packing the Supreme Court. There is no guarantee that his lift every voice package would be passed. But there is what we vote just like and we go into vote with the hope, just like we have the hope of every new sports season, that our team is going to finally win a championship.
Not the Jets.
When I started my conversation, when I started what I had to say, I talked about gradual emancipation. I think that's, this is a gradual approach that you suggested. There's no guarantee. I'm talking about forcing this man to do what we want to do. We ain't hoping, you don't do what we say, you ain't going to have no secretary. We're going to make sure if you don't do what we say you're going to do, we're going to stop.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I'm not talking about hoping and wishing. Them days should be over.
Yeah.
No. But you see, and here's our only leverage to that concept. In 4 years, what happens? There's another election. There's a level of accountability. Wait a minute, you said you was going to do this, you said you was going to do that. It's like when you tell a child you're going to take them to Disney World. They remind you every day, when we going to Disney World, when we going to Disney World. We need that same thing.
Yeah.
We need to hold them accountable.
Clyburn of South Carolina gave him the candidacy to run for president. when he should be the first one standing in there in the doorway when he comes ready to come through here.
With his hand
This
out.
is what you're gonna do.
There you go.
This is what you're gonna do. And if you don't do this, well, you ain't gonna have no support. That's it.
Yeah.
But he ain't gonna do that. They just gonna be happy to see him get in there.
Well, we don't know if they're going to do it, but we do know. But we want them to say, okay, now let's get down that list that you promised, and we're holding you accountable to it. This is what you said. Make it happen.
Well, yeah. Well, he said what he wanted to say. We didn't bring a list on, so we threw everybody under the bus who talked about a list or talked about immigration. He stated what he said he was going to do, and we can't hold him to what he said because he said it. There was no negotiations going on.
Oh, well, we didn't hold Lindsey Graham to what he said either. So, yeah. So why should we hold Biden? Lindsey Graham said, mark my words, this is going to be a new precedent. There's no Supreme Court vote from an outgoing president.
Right.
He said, mark my words.
All right.
Well, that's up to the people in South Carolina. He's up on it. He's on the ballot. And if they don't down there, if they want him to, somebody to go back on their word to be their senator.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
he
No.
called
I don't want to. We're at 12 o'clock.
redneck in South, in there. He said,
We're at 12
these
o'clock.
people is about to change our lives.
We're at 12 o'clock.
Oh,
At 12 o'clock.
whose turn is it?
So, listen, guys, we got, 8 days to go before Election Day. 8 days. 8 days. If you haven't voted, well, at least in New Jersey, right? Just like fill out your ballot and get that done, right?
Don't wait to mail it in there. Take it directly to the county board of elections.
That's absolutely right. And all over the other parts of the country, what did they say? 59 million people have.
Yeah, they think election day should be up to 100 million people would have voted.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's the
Right. So go vote. But aside from that, I'm telling you, get a mask, put it on, stay away from those fools who don't wear masks. Just like literally stay away from them. Save your life. I want to say this before we go. For all of the people, I was unable to. I talked to my doctors and I couldn't, because of my issues, involve myself in the vaccine trials. I so wanted to. But for all of you who are, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This is Eric Dawson. I want to thank Jody Pittman. Want to thank Mike Sproul. Mike, stay safe on the roads. Vincent Squire, hailing from Camden County. And as Vincent says, Diane, the queen of streaming media. Thank all of you guys for tuning in. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow.
Have a great day. Bye.
God bless.